All right, everybody. Here we are in round 6. We're deep in this tournament. And we got one Shawn Giles on the left. And we got a one Odin Enzmann on the right. Affinity versus Burn, a match as old as Block. Robots. Shawn just has a mana card, and a mana card. He's got 3 mana cards. His opponent has a GG. Now, it looks like both of these players play these decks a lot. I know Shawn does. I wasn't sure about Odin. I mean, just look at their decks. Like, we got the Full Art Searing Blaze in hand. We got the Promo Goblin Guide. We got the Expedition. Blah, 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 blah. You guys can see it for yourself. So these are masters of their craft, clearly. And they are gonna, what I assume, play 2 pretty quick games of Magic. Maybe 3. Maybe 3. So there's the Vault Scourge. Good card against Burn. Kind of demands an answer once Cranial Plating's in play. And Etch Champion, which has no possible answer versus the main deck Burn. Etch Champion, a big problem for Burn. Most lists play like 1 Etch Champion main deck. Shawn, he has 3. So he's triple the number of Etch Champions that most Burn decks play. Shawn, the Tattoo Master. As you can see, he's from New Hampshire, or at least northern Massachusetts, not sure exactly where. Plays with the likes of Nate Piercy, Gary Hazelwood, the New Hampshire guys. That is his jam, as he deploys an Ornithopter. And just says go. He wants to race this Affinity deck. Looks like we got a block on the Grim and a Galv Blast on the GG. Makes sense to me. He only takes 2, but is empty-handed. So Shawn now looking for a payoff card, right? He needs a Master, he needs a Plating, another Etched, a Ravager. Anything but like Springleaf. Anything but a Mox Opal. Memnite wouldn't be great. And it looks like you found one. Look at this. Steel Overseer. Yeah, that's a payoff card. Gonna at least eat a Grim activation. Not the payoff card he wanted, right? Because it just dies. But it's gonna slow Odin down. Odin's still operating on 1 land here. And all creatures, so 1 land, all creatures. There are only 13 in the deck, and he's drawn 4 of them. Goblin Guy did hit a land card for Shawn. Great news. Affinity after the first couple lands needs no more. Shawn takes 3, goes to 13 life. And all Odin can say is go. He's got Bupkiss here. His life for a basic mountain. Inkmoth number 2 comes out. A blocker in time of need. And it's amazing to me that Odin could not even kill the Steel Overseer. That's like absurd. Also a little surprising, Shawn does not activate any of these lands to give him extra counters. That was a risk-free maneuver, right? You could just activate the land, get a counter, land deactivates. Not that it matters. I mean, look at this hand from Odin. Lightning Helix, Searing Blaze, etc., etc., etc. These are the kind of hands that you gotta keep when you play the burn deck. You got to keep the one land Goblin Guide hands. You just have to do it. When you're on the draw, you got to do it. You have a 70% chance of hitting another land, and even if you don't, you have another creature, and yada, yada, yada. But he didn't get there. Not even close. He got his opponent to 17, I think. 15, maybe. 13. Got his opponent all the way down to 13. So we move to the sideboards here. Odin, I believe, is from the Amherst area. I haven't seen him around too much, but based on the sorted cast of characters he hangs out with, I have to imagine he's from this general area. He did have a top 4, I want to say. At a Star City tournament. Was teaming with Dylan Hand and what I believe was his brother. Playing a triple modern tournament. And I might even be lying to you because he was playing not a triple modern tournament, a standard modern legacy tournament. And yeah, it looks like he was playing with his brother. I just managed to find the page there. That was, I believe, was in Baltimore. The power of the internet lets me pretend like I know these things, when in reality I'm typing in them into the Google box. So they were able to make the top 4. The top 8, where it looks like they fell to Jarvis Yu's team, Stephen Nagy, Joel Isaac. 3 pretty good wizards, so you can't blame them for falling to those guys. That was definitely a good top 8. Zachary Kine, also in the finals of that tournament. He's in the room today. Michael Ferguson from Amherst, also in the top 8. Don't think he did so well today. But he is here. Chris Turnbull as well. So this area, right, Western Mass, Central Mass, Shawn Giles' case, Northern Mass. A lot of good players, you know. People move. People stop playing. Other people take their place. Up-and-comers. And this Odin Enzmann, 22 years old, is one of them. Enzmann Hand. Expect to see these names again. I was supposed to talk about sideboards. Kind of forgot to. Oh, well. What do we need sideboards for? Sean's got Spell Snare. That's about the only good thing. Maybe Spell Pierce. Spell Pierce, Spell Snare. Some blue cards. That's all. That's all he'll play. His deck's already pretty good. Against Odin's. Odin, on the other hand, gets a lot more. 4 Destructive Revelry. 3 Searing Blood. He could legit side in 13 cards if he wanted to. It's just a question of whether or not he has cards to take out. Right, he has 4 Revelry, 3 Palm, 3 Blood, 3 Path. He could have sided in all 13. Make his deck a little more like a control deck, right? Just with like a bunch of answer cards. Side out the slower cards. Obviously, you're siding Eidolon of the Great Revel. You'll side out Goblin Guide on the draw and perhaps not on the play. No way. But on the draw, you can consider siding that card out. Side out your Skullcracks. It's kind of like inefficient at what they do. 2 mana for 3 damage only to players, not what you want to be doing. So we'll see how Odin sideboard. I'm actually very curious. So Goblin Guide for Odin. Vault Scourge, Ornithopter, Darksteel for Shawn. And this is why you have to side in all these answer cards if you're Odin. Because a card like Vault Scourge just has to be answered. Right? You can't risk your opponent putting a Cranial Plating on a Vault Scourge. Dumping all their Arcbound Ravager counters on a Vault Scourge. And wow, Grim Lavamancer. This is a much better start from Odin. I mean, look, he has 2 lands. How could it not be a better start? Looking for Basic Mountain. It's got to be in here somewhere. Wow, not a Basic Mountain. That's really surprising. Goes for an Expedition. I wonder what the logic is there. Oh, of course. That's a Stomping Ground. Yeah. He has 4 Destructive Reverie in his deck. Of course, that's a Stomping Ground. I just assumed it was a Sacred Foundry. Of course. How could I tell? They both look the same. Stupid gray cards. So, Shawn, just a bunch of 1 mana, like, I don't want to say do-nothings, because, you know, Vault Scourge has lifelink, but cards that just don't do very much here. Right? He's got a Memnite, he's got a Steel, a Signal Pest, Vault Scourges, an Ornithopter. These cards are just not that impressive. Searing. To 9 goes Shawn. Grim Lavamancer, now active. Goblin Guide triggers. Mountain to Shawn's hand. Okay, creature land for Shawn. Aha, there's a payoff card. It's an Arcbound Ravager. Of course, in response, Odin shoots down the lifelinking creature, as is to be expected. But Ravager is in. Super blocker. Problem is, Shawn is at 5. And no amount of blockers in the world are going to be able to save him from 2 burn spells just pointed right at the dome. Does Odin have that, though? This is the question. At least he has a Suspend of Riftbolt. So representing lethal with Riftbolt plus Grim Lavamancer, this is absolutely Shawn's last turn. If he can put all his eggs into the Inkmoth basket, perhaps he can deal Odin 10 poison. But I don't see how he's going to be able to do that in the face of a Grim Lavamancer. Nor does he even have enough artifacts. There is the very Chris Turnbull in the background that I was talking about earlier. The Bruins had himself. It's winter. It's hockey season. Shawn's last gasp. Shawn going through the motions. Sacking every permanent to the Arcbound Ravager. Inkmon Nexus is powered. Currently 3. Shawn thinks he has it. 7. And Odin's going to win in style here. He's going to prevent the 10 poison that Inkmoth would do and deal 10 to Shawn. And that's definitely going to do it for game 2, as that is one of the coolest ways that you can win as a burn player. Deflecting palming. The lethal attack. Always feels good. Always feels good. So game 3 it is. And I would expect nothing less from a burn versus affinity matchup. It's pretty close. Right? And that's not to say that the player who falls behind wins very often. That's not what I mean by close. What I mean is that it's so easy for either player to get ahead. Shawn, excited. Owen, stoic. It's a tale of two gentlemen. You know, it's funny. When I see Shawn, I get worried about those holes in his ears, man. I just start thinking stuff like, what if it gets caught on something? What if like Someone falls into it. Like, actually gets their finger caught in it. Wouldn't, like, a pet bird wanna roost there? That pen behind his ear, couldn't it get caught somehow? I don't know. It's just something I think about. You know, I would never tell him this. I would never wish for anything to get caught in it, but man, do I think about it. Now, if you don't know, if you got to this YouTube page by accident, if YouTube's algorithm's completely messed up and recommended you something you have no idea what it is, these players are playing in a Titanium Challenge where first and second place gets an invitation to the Titanium Finals. So this is an 80-person tournament, $1,600 being given away, as well as 2 invitations to the Titanium Finals, February 18th of 2018. Neither one of these players are, as of yet, qualified. And the finals is a $5,000 cash tournament. That's invite only, of course. 32 people are going to attend. So if you don't have your calculator on you, don't worry. I'll do the math. 32, 5,000 divided by 32. Pretty big number. Pretty good stuff. Pretty good expected value from that tournament. And here we are. We're off. Springleaf Drum versus Goblin Guide. Mox Opal is active. He has Metalcraft, so lots of mana this turn, Shawn Giles. Master of Ethereum, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a 4/4. With potential Galv Blast mana. Or Spell Pierce, or Spell Snare mana. And by the way Shawn's flipping, looking at that hand, I gotta think he's got a blue spell. That's just my read of this. Having not played with Shawn too much. The flipping could mean he's out of gas. It's different for each person, right? You have to correlate these things before you can make real reads. Goblin Guide reveals non-land, daring Shawn to block. He says no blocks. Does not want to risk his 4/4 in combat right now, because this 4/4 only grows bigger. One mana. Vault Scourge decides not to pay the black. Surprising. Must have something better to do here. 1/2. Ravager. Shawn says, I don't want my creature to get Searing Blooded, but how can I stop it? Oof. No Spell Snare, no Spell Pierce. Ouch. That hurts. That hurts a lot. So Shawn at 11. And have to imagine Master of Ethereum gets in here. It is a 5/5. Got to start attacking your opponent at some point. 15 is Odin, but all the cards still in hand. Destructive Revelry would be bad. Deflecting Palm would be horrible. Path to Exile would be unbearable for Shawn. He is definitely losing this game as it stands now. Goblin Guide reveals Vault Scourge. Now, Odin is not out of the woods yet. Like, yes, he has all kinds of options available to him. He has all kinds of spells in hand. But he has to be a little worried. His Master of Ethereum is a huge creature. Spike drops Shawn to 6. What can Shawn muster here? Vault Scourge this time. Cannot afford to pay 2 life. Good decision. But it's just so likely that Odin has you dead if you're Shawn. 4 cards in hand. All kinds of untapped mana. And now the question is, does Shawn have a Spell Pierce? Does he have a Spell Snare? Looking at his card as though it's relevant. I'm wondering. But no counter on Helix. Shawn going all in on his Vault Scourge. But it doesn't matter, as Odin has plenty of burn spells. Handshake. Oof. Tough for Shawn. Yeah, I understand why he played the way he did, right? He didn't want to risk his Master of Ethereum in combat. He didn't block the Goblin Guide. He didn't want to risk his Ravager in combat. Excuse me. Did not block the Goblin Guide. But that Goblin Guide did him 4 extra points of damage that didn't have to be done. And I have to wonder how that game would have gone if that first turn Master blocked the Guide. And, of course, this is hindsight. 100% hindsight. But it's worth thinking about. And, yeah, it's unfortunate for Shawn, right? He mulled the 6, didn't draw a single sideboard card in either sideboard game. As it turns out, he sided in 8 cards. He decided the Blood Moons were good enough to bring in, which I totally understand, for Destructive Revelry. But he didn't draw that. Didn't draw the Wear Tear, which I'm not sure why Wear Tear was in the deck. Eidolon of the Great Revel, I guess, but that's a card. That's a card the Burn player would usually side out in my mind. And but no blue instance was the huge part, right? Like, if Shawn was able to use a blue instant, a pierce or a snare on that Lightning Helix that had targeted the Vault Scourge, that would have been a whole different game. Right, he could have loaded that up with counters. So Shawn drops to 4-2. Odin moves on to 5-1. Should be able, if everything goes right for him, to draw into the top 8. Shawn not out of it. He can still make $50 if he wins the next round, makes top 16. Not a bad deal at 5-2. Make almost double your money back. So that's what he'll be trying to do. Let this playlist keep on rolling, everybody, because we have the last round of Swiss coming up. Some players fighting it out for a spot in top 8. Thanks for watching.